Good afternoon. This is attorney Carrie Meldon, and we are here for another live edition of Meldon Law and Friends. I think we're nearing, and Evan, you're the producer here, and you can't see Evan on the camera, but we're nearing 100 episodes now, aren't we?
Episode 90.
Episodes 90. So we've started during COVID. We've not missed a week, and we have 2 guests a week. So we have 180 of the most esteemed, most popular people in Gainesville, including Jill herself in the studio. So we're really excited about our upcoming interview. As always, we're always doing giveaways on our Meldon Law Instagram page and our Meldon Law Facebook page. If you want to enter into any of these giveaways, just go on and you can check them out. We're doing a really cool giveaway, and I think if it's not on our Facebook or Instagram page yet, I'm going to kind of give it away, and our marketing director, Charles Rickey, may jump down my throat. But we're going to be doing a weekend trip to Margaritaville Resort down in Orlando. We're giving away with some gift certificates to some lucky winners. So that's kind of a really unique, cool giveaway. Yeah, you might have to play on this one. We always do like Yeti coolers, and we do Gator games, of course, because Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And I'm proud to announce that we've extended our relationship with the Florida Gators through 2026. This is brand new, hot off the press. So hopefully Freddie won't come in here and strangle me, Evan. But as for the foreseeable future, the Meldon Law and the Florida Gators will be partners and continue to do some really fun things for our beloved Gators. So that's our intro for today. And without further ado, as I like to say, we're going to go into our first interview with Jill Diaz-Perera from Gator CPR. So Jill, first of all, I want to thank you for being here today at the lovely Spurriers. We were talking before the podcast that you recently celebrated a birthday here.
Yes, my 22nd birthday on Sunday.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. What did you order when you were here?
I always get a steak. They always hit on the cook. It's always perfectly cooked. Side of asparagus, side of mac and cheese.
All right.
No go-to order every time.
So you are like a steak and potatoes.
Yeah, definitely.
Or I should say steak and mac and cheese.
Right. Yeah, the mac and cheese here is you cannot miss it. If anything, you need to get a side of mac and cheese.
All right. Well, we're already giving Spurrier's Gridiron Grill some props here. So if you ever want to have a really great farm to table meal, the best place to go is Spurrier's. There is no freezers here except for ice cream, and all of the local produce, local meats, local fish are always caught. And they actually, I think sometimes they even describe on the menu where they catch
and you
the
can almost
produce
taste
from.
it. It's almost like you can taste the freshness.
I mean,
it's not like a regular, chain restaurant taste. You can tell the freshness.
Right, and food is so expensive these days. If you're going to pay more, you might as well get high quality.
Right.
So you can always do that at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and it's really cool because it's open on Tuesdays. And so people will start piling in during our podcast, and we get to have some action. It used to be closed on Tuesdays, but for those listeners out there, Spurrier's is wide open. So Jill, first of all, before we get started, tell us a little bit, what is Gator CPR?
Yeah, so Gator CPR is a local CPR safety training center, and we also teach CNAs. So we actually have a CNA prep course where we're preparing CNAs to essentially challenge the state exam and hopefully become licensed, obviously, at the end of it. And really our big difference is, so people are used to an almost 3-4 month process when becoming CNA certified. But with our prep course, it's actually only 3 days. So you're getting the information back to back to back. And then the big thing is that you do have to wait about 4 to 6 weeks just because that's the processing time. But we offer so many resources to help you throughout that time. So we have practice sessions 2 hours a day, Monday through Saturday. We have our entire course that you get taught in person, online as well. So students refer back to that. A manual with all that information in it, a take-home kit, so you can even buy the actual materials from us and take them home with you if for whatever reason you couldn't make it into the office to practice for things like that. And really that's kind of that's our biggest driver right now, just especially post-COVID and even 2 years later down the line. Healthcare still needs workers.
Yes.
And so getting these CNAs licensed in and out really quickly like that is really beneficial, and it kind of puts their foot in the door a lot faster, especially for our students in the city who are pretty much pre-med or something in that facility or in that direction, and use our course kind of like a stepping stone.
Well, my ex-girlfriend, Diane, was a CNA. And so I know what CNA stands for, but those listeners may not know. So why don't you explain what CNA is and kind of what are their duties and responsibilities?
Yeah, so CNA means Certified Nursing Assistant. So it's exactly what it sounds like. You are a licensed assistant to registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, nurse practitioners. The list goes on and on of who you assist, essentially, depending on the facility you work for. But yeah, and you're basically just doing a lot of the legwork. It's a lot of directly taking care of people. So
Absolutely.
we're talking literal bathing, helping them eat, change, sleep, changing their sheets, especially with a lot of geriatric, which just means older patients who start to lose their own abilities. You can't walk, you can't move, and so CNAs are really doing a lot of that heavy work.
Absolutely.
And helping those patients.
So it's funny. I was a prosecutor in Daytona. I moved over with Diane, who was who became a CNA. And one of the things the listeners should know out there is that CNA is a great stepping stone to becoming a nurse or a nurse practitioner, which she currently is. So you can make an absolute career. And I think that a lot of the very challenging nursing schools look at CPA or CNA, I'm sorry, not CPA would be accounting, but CNA experience as crucial with regards to being able to get into their programs.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely, to me, it shows character. So I'm the office manager for our facility, and I really deal with a lot of the administrative stuff and the CPR side. So being able to watch these CNAs, I know 100% they are doing things that I would never want to do.
Oh my
I
God!
know that I could not, take care of someone like that 100%.
You could.
Right, I could.
It's tough.
Exactly. And so it's just like watching these people I just have so much more respect for them because I know I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't.
Well,
and
she
so
was.
Watch you be so good at it.
Diane was like 110 pounds, and she was working at Oak Hammock, I think, and she was rolling people over and taking care of like these elderly. And I was so impressed. She would come home exhausted, but she really enjoyed her job, and she met really good people, and people loved her. And I think it's like you said, it's you're actually helping people.
Right.
You're physically helping people
really
survive. And so it's one of those jobs where you can actually, when you go home, feel really good about what you've done.
Yeah, you see the physical impact that you're having on these people.
Absolutely. So I have a lot of respect for the CNA portion of it. And in terms of CPR,
so CPR, it kind of varies a little bit. So what most of us are probably familiar with CPR is like when we watch it on TV and there's doctors and nurses running all over the place, everybody's freaking out kind of thing. But really our goal at Gator CPR is to not make CPR that. So CPR is really just as simple as, pushing down real hard on someone's chest in the very middle of their chest. And I'm obviously boiling it down to make it real simple, but that's all it is at the end of the day. And CPR is obviously life-saving. Never hurts to know the information. Yeah. And so there's different types of classes. There's CPR classes that are focused for our healthcare providers. So that's obviously a little more detailed in the actual functions that are happening in the body and stuff like that. But we have lay rescuer CPR or regular CPR. So you, a teacher, our construction workers, those are the people who really frequent those kinds of classes. But again, anybody who wants to know the information, it's a perfect class to attend.
Now, are your classes in a building, or do you come to different businesses and teach them? How does that work?
We actually do both. So we do have an office located right off of Northwest 23rd Avenue, right by Gainesville High School. So you can come into our office, and classes are Monday through Saturday, multiple times a day. So we try to serve as many people as we can, and then we do actually come to other businesses too. So our owner Clay will actually visit businesses and do corporate trainings and come on site and stuff like that. Yeah.
Great. You've seen the episode of The Office when they're doing CPR?
Yeah. We actually we have a YouTube playlist and just let the time pass, and that's one of the videos that plays. And Clay always walks in on it, and he'll say, "This is how not to teach."
This is not. So do not use the Bee Gees song "Staying Alive" as.
You can just don't rip the face off or don't sing too crazy or anything like that.
Okay, well, that's a great episode if you haven't seen it.
Super funny.
Well, that's fun. So you guys have a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're a really small company. We're only about, including Clay, myself, and our director of operations, so our administration team, we're only 9 people.
Oh, great.
We're probably serving near 300 people a month. And
Wow.
we're the only CNA testing center in Gainesville, so anytime you go to take the state board exam, you need to come to our office.
Where is your office located?
So it's 1029 Northwest 23rd Avenue. We're just around the corner from Gainesville High School, just up the street from that Chipotle and Wawa that are right there.
Oh,
on
that's
that corner.
great. That's very centrally located for
Yeah,
Gainesville.
pretty much kind of downtown, just down the street from North Main Street. 39th is down the street as well. So
Not too far
definitely
from
pretty
campus.
central. Exactly. Yeah, we're maybe less than a mile and a half from campus. So we
Right.
have a lot of students. A lot of our CNA students tend to be college students, but we also get career changers and people who just want to try something different or who are moving forward with different goals in their life. So it's definitely beneficial to the students or anyone. Yeah, since we're so centrally located, it's pretty easy to come in and out.
And I believe that you said that you were open Monday through Saturday?
Yeah, so our class, we do work by registration, so that way we can ensure we have the space for everybody because we are a smaller building, and especially post-COVID, we still do respect social distancing, and we ask people to wear masks because most of our clientele is healthcare, so the CNAers and a lot of the healthcare workers take our CPR classes. So it is kind of a smaller one, and we do work by registration, but essentially we're teaching classes Monday through Thursday, our evening classes, and then we host CPR classes and CNA classes through the weekend.
Oh, wonderful. So, there's always opportunities, it sounds like.
Exactly.
And so what's the best way for the audience out there to get in touch with Gator CPR?
Yeah, so I would say if there's any questions, even if it's the smallest detail, call us first. That's 352-727-4733. And I just say that just because, again, there's a lot of little details that go into both aspects of our company. So if any questions, just call. But our website is pretty much self-explanatory, and you can immediately register, pay, and reserve your spot on the website. And that's gatorcpr.com.
Would you advise people to do it the same day or in advance? How does that usually work?
It really depends. For CNA, I would recommend in advance. So we're in the second week of July, and we're sold out through July. And we are pretty flexible as well. So if you ever see something sold out, please feel free to contact us. But our classes do sell out pretty quickly, so I would do it in advance. But for CPR, for the most part, and in the same way, we're also really flexible to get you in if necessary. But I would say that you can probably do even as late as like the night before.
And do you tell people on the website what they need to bring or what they need to wear?
Yep. It's all on there. And then especially, thankfully, I feel like that's another good thing our courses offer. We're really no fuss. So we'll tell you, this is what test day might be like for you, but if you're comfortable in leggings and a t-shirt or, in sneakers and jeans, just come as you are. We just want you to feel like you're comfortable in our classroom and like you're leaving, not having worried about, well, is my uniform correct or is this right? We really just want to teach you efficiently. And so, we just advise people to come as they are, and the website's pretty clear about if there's anything else to bring and stuff like that.
And with regards to the CNA, is there any, do you guys have any connections with placement if someone wants to possibly
definitely.
have a job?
So we actually have a CNA career fair coming up July 18th,
Ooh.
5 o'clock. And so we have vendors come into our office, so they're just using our space. But hiring facilities, HHAs, which are home health agencies where you are placed to take care of a specific patient. Different facilities will come in and advertise their hiring, what they're offering employees and stuff like that. So we do have that. And then there's a lot of businesses that just advertise their positions as well because, like I mentioned, we're the only testing center. And so we have a physical job board up that we keep pretty much completely updated.
That's great.
And just constantly posting any open positions that we're aware of.
Well, we're going to go to break, but when we get back, I do want to talk more about the hiring fair and where it is and how people can sign up for it. And we'll return with Jill Diaz-Perera. What a great first segment.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your
No,
fault.
it's not, no,
I am
it's not.
calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady here might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, Join them. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud...
Evan, is there it goes. Okay. You never know that it starts until the M rotates. There's a reason for that. I'm just making that up. I don't know if there's a reason for it or not, but it's working. And we're back here continuing our great conversation with Jill Diaz-Perera. Did I pronounce the last?
Yes, you did, actually.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. Sometimes you roll the R, sometimes you don't.
Yeah,
you know?
no, you did a good job.
So I don't know how to roll an R anyways. So that's the way I was going to pronounce it.
Good.
But the intent and the execution was flawlessly delivered. So we're here in studios at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Once again, great place to eat. Jill and I were talking before the podcast. She just celebrated her 22nd birthday here at Spurrier's with a steak, macaroni and cheese, and asparagus. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, and so we always love to eat here. Come here if you can. It is obviously owned by the infamous Steve Spurrier, and you can see all of his helmets. What you can't see is that they go all the way up to the ceiling. And what's cool is if you come here and eat, there's actually people already here at the restaurant, and they can look in and watch us while we talk. So that's always makes it a little bit more exciting. We've got a live audience without can we get canned laughter one time? That'd be fun. Look into that. Okay, yeah, we'll do some canned laughter and make it like a Friends episode or something. You know, makes everything look like funny even though it's not. But anyway, then we got Tammy behind the keyboard. And we have. Okay, touchdown. Tammy said she would provide it for us. So we have a good time, but really it's all about featuring all the local celebrities. And Jill has come here with a blaze of fire. Jill, I mean, first of all, before we get into the CNA hiring fair and the training courses and prep courses, which we'll end the show on, tell us a little bit about what brought you to Gainesville in the first place.
Yeah, so I'm actually originally from Miami, and so people usually look at me crazy when it's like, why would you leave Miami for Gainesville? But I was actually in search of something different, essentially. I was born and raised in Miami, and there's just something about the Southern manners that I appreciate. And you can ask anybody from Miami, anything an hour outside is just like a whole different way of living, of being, and stuff like that. And so I knew when I graduated high school that I wanted to go to college somewhere else, and that's essentially what brought me to Gainesville. And so my best friend actually attends the University of Florida. She's starting vet school in the fall.
Oh, wonderful.
And so I kind of just tagged along, and I was like, it seems like the place for me. And I actually go to Santa Fe, and I'm pursuing my human resources degree. And
wonderful.
I'll be done in May.
Great. I mean, they're building a campus downtown Santa Fe. Look, if you're going to be a college student in Florida, I don't know if there's a better place in Gainesville in terms of being able to be with like-minded people, having great restaurants, a lot of youthfulness, and I feel like it's a fairly safe environment.
Exactly, yeah, and that's why I think it was what kind of sold me on it. There's enough life here to where it's, it keeps you entertained, but it's also peaceful enough, when especially now during the summer when half the students are gone, and it's mostly just locals. There's no traffic, there's no nothing. And in Miami, it would take me, 35 minutes to go what is maybe 5 miles from me, and here 35 minutes will get me to the other side of Gainesville.
Well,
so it's just something about the peace that honestly just makes me very happy to be here.
So my sister is a lawyer. She still lives in Miami, and I was living up in down in Fort Lauderdale until last year. I had opened a branch of our firm down there. We still have it, but I've hired other lawyers to run it while I come back here and work with Jeffrey. And I can tell you, South Florida is great. Right. There's a lot of cool things about it. It's got its own appeal, and I think Gainesville does too. I think it's kind of what's the right fit for you. Not everything's the right fit for someone.
And South Florida has its own culture. Like I'm happy to say I'm from Miami. Miami made me, and it made me the way I am today. But there's just something. Yeah, it really just depends on what fits you. And I also even enjoy that at Gainesville. Gainesville's so central. Yeah. The 2-hour drives to Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville are a blink of an eye, and it really doesn't feel like.
Yeah, and you have an airport, so if you want to fly down to Miami to see family, you can be there pretty quickly. So we love being in Gainesville. So that's what brought you here. Yeah. And how'd you get into Gator CPR? Yeah.
Actually, so it was basically a transition of events, kind of just like the falling of the dominoes that really led to it. I was originally a healthcare services administration major. And literally not even a full month after changing my majors, I was just doing some job searches, and Gator CPR was hiring. And they were hiring for an administrative assistant at the time, and that's how I joined the company in August of 2020. And now it's July of 2022, and I'm the office
Wow.
manager.
So you joined during COVID, thick of
essentially
it.
right after COVID, kind of, because we were shut down for like maybe a month or two, like in March, April, June. And then July, essential businesses got to open back up, and pretty much come August, we were full steam at the office.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
So we saw it too because, like I mentioned, COVID really still like we're asking for healthcare workers, and so we just saw so many people in that next year coming through and getting certified and licensed, and really we were pushing them out back then. Like it was a lot of people.
Well, you must have done a remarkable job because at your age, you're already the office manager, so that's a pretty big deal.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been, I wouldn't say it's been easy, but it's a gratifying journey. You know, kind of to see the hard work that you've put in pay off, especially at such a young age. And not a lot of people get the opportunities that I have, especially blatantly pre-degree. But working on it, and I actually see myself going further with Gator CPR, and we're working on some things. And so hopefully, you know, if I see you again in a year, we can talk about what
Absolutely. We love updating life success stories. That's great. Well, let's get into a couple more things before we end the segment. First being what we talked about at the end of the last segment, which was the CNA hiring fair. First of all, what is the CNA hiring fair?
Yeah, so we are having 4 to 5 vendors come on into our office, and so they'll all have their own space, basically advertising all of their open positions and the benefits that they offer their employees. It depends on the facility, but we've had people taking applications and interviews on the spot immediately, and, you know, kind of putting all that paperwork into processing and things like that. It's July 18th at our office, which again is 1029 Northwest 23rd Avenue. We're starting at 5 o'clock. We're going to be going till about 7:30. Free food, free drinks, and really just a really good networking opportunity. Even if you know, you don't find a facility for you, definitely just something good to make you aware of all the different types of options that you have as a CNA, and you know, where to work and things like that.
So no pre-registration needed.
Nope. It's just, come on in, show up, and just have a good time. Hopefully, you know, you do leave feeling satisfied about it. But yeah, it's very much no fuss. Our doors are open again 5 to 7:30, and we really just would like to see people come through and, you know, gain from it.
And the address and maybe some landmarks that
So 1029 Northwest 23rd Avenue. When you're on 23rd Avenue, you're going to pass Gainesville High School on your right, and you'll come to the light. You'll have the Chipotle, the Wawa, and there's a Goodwill.
Okay.
And we're just less than a block and a half down.
Down which direction? Towards Main Street?
Yep, towards Main Street.
Okay, so you'd be heading east.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there you go. You got 2.5 hours to see about the job hiring fair, and you said 4 or 5 vendors that may be hiring.
I want to say right now I have 4 confirmed.
That's
and I'm
great.
working on 1 more.
So there's no excuse to not have a job. If you want to, if you really want one, you can get one.
Yeah, exactly.
And is there always availability in the CNA courses?
Definitely, and we're really flexible, and if we understand, you know, if you're coming to us saying, hey, I want to take a CNA course, you're pursuing something, so we definitely want to work with you and get you in wherever we're available, and we're really flexible, honestly. For the most part, you know, we kind of make chess pieces move, but we will make them move for you.
And there's actually a CNA prep course and a CNA training course. Can you explain what both of those are and the difference between the two?
So the training course is what most people are familiar with when it comes to the CNA process. Like I mentioned a little earlier, it's like a 3-4 month long process. You're spending those 6 weeks committed to showing up to somewhere. Whereas what we offer, which is a CNA prep course, it's only going to be 3 or 4 days. So either Monday through Thursday or Friday through Sunday. And we're going to teach you everything there. Like I said earlier, it does take about 4 to 6 weeks to process your testing application, but at the end of that 4 to 6 weeks, you'll be taking your licensing exam, and given that you pass that, you're a licensed CNA, and so you got it done in less time than that, and in less time than what is normal with a CNA training course, and you can get working even quicker since you're only committed to 3 or 4 days. Florida came up with a position called a PCA, which is basically like an unlicensed CNA, and you're kind of doing nearly the same things. So you could even get into a facility, as a PCA until you take your test, and then you'll just move up their pay grade to a CNA.
How successful is Gator CPR at preparing or getting the licensing for the applicants?
We have a 96% passing rate.
A 96% passing rate.
Yeah.
God, I know. I wish I could have said that in a lot of my schooling. A few classes, but not everyone. But that's actually a really good.
Thankfully.
And so people aren't wasting their money or their time.
Definitely not. And we work directly with you if you fail and you have any concerns about this is what I wasn't so sure about. We will work directly with you. You get put with our CNA program manager who kind of creates a plan with you on how to best move forward with that. So
you have the opportunity to become a certified nursing assistant. You have the opportunity to potentially get a legitimate paying job.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can use that experience to move on to nursing later on if that's what you choose to do.
Right. Yeah, and there's even students who maybe aren't nursing but are in healthcare in some capacity. And there's a whole bunch of fields that kind of need patient contact hours, which is just that one-on-one work with patients. And CNA is the perfect thing. We have, pre-PA, pre-med, all these different kinds of students, and also our nursing students use our program. Yeah,
I'll tell you one thing, just from personal experience. I run a law firm.
Right.
I've been a lawyer now for longer than I want to admit, but I try to learn what every position is in our firm, whether it's reception, intake, our medical billing department, whether it's the settlement department, our case managers, our litigation assistants, our pre-lit managers, whatever position that our demand specialists, whatever we have in our office, I want to learn what they do, because really to me that's the best way to be competent, number one, and to respect others and their positions and create what we believe is meaningful career paths. And I think CNA is a great starting point for a lot of people. It can be a career, but it can also be kind of a touch point. So later on, how hard it is, and the labor and the time and the effort and the relationships that occur when you are a CNA. So it's a really great thing. I'm really glad that we got you in here today, Jill. We have about a couple minutes left. Is there anything that you want to plug before we let you go on your merry way?
Yeah, so the only other thing coming up with our CNA course, so we're going to have what we call information sessions, but it's also really another casual kind of thing. That one's going to be August 11th, and this is just an information session for our program specifically. So if after this you find yourself with any other questions or really interested in becoming a certified nursing assistant, definitely attend that information session. You'll get some more details, and you'll even start to find out what opportunities are available for you and things like that. That's August 11th, and that's going to be 6 to 7 p.m.
Oh, that's great. This has been a great episode. Jill, I appreciate you coming on the show today. One of the things that I think we want to make sure that we do is we keep up with you in the future and see where you are, where Gator CPR is, and it sounds like you have some fun things planned.
Yeah, hopefully. We have something in the works, not to give away too many details, but hopefully another city, if everything, all the tests
Miami?
settle, maybe we'll talk about it in a year.
Will it be Kane CPR, or will it still be Gator?
I guess that's a good question. I guess if I'm moving into different territories, that might be a problem.
All right.
Something to consider.
Well, it's something that we can keep silent to make sure the competitors don't find out. Once again, we have about 30 seconds left. Just give the listeners out there your contact info. So if they want to sign up for a course for either CPR or CNA, they know how to get in contact with you.
We have a few contact methods. You can call us. It's 352-727-4733. You can email us. It's cpr@gatorcpr.com, and our website has all of our information on it as well, and that's gatorcpr.com.
There you go. All right, Jill, thank you for your time today. All right, I think we're good to go. We're going to go.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault.
No,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady here might...
New client?
Yes, but this one might be a little tricky. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em. We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon, because you're gonna need help, and they will help you.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
And we're back here at Meldon Law and Friends. This is attorney Carrie Meldon, and we just had a really great segment with Jill from Gator CPR, and I'm sure this segment will be just as fun. We're here with Kaitlyn Hof-Mahoney. Thank you, Kaitlyn, for showing up today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And we're here at the Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. You can see all the helmets in the background. This is a very cool atmosphere because there's people, even more people are piling into the restaurant. So we have a live audience. They get to see what the hell's going on in here. Excuse my language, what the heck is going on in there. But we're going to talk about some really cool exhibits. And Kaitlyn is a extremely interesting subject today because we actually have a connection with the business that she works with. And we're going to talk about that in about 2 seconds. Before we do that, let me just quickly remind all of the listeners out there that we're doing free giveaways on our social media, on the Meldon Law Facebook and Instagram pages. Our big giveaway we're going to be announcing, if we have not announced it yet, it will be announcing it soon, is a weekend at Margaritaville in Orlando, along with some gift certificates. So you can listen to Jimmy Buffett in Orlando and kind of hang out in the pool or wherever you are on the deck and enjoy the atmosphere. So that's a summer giveaway at Meldon Law, and we're also going to be doing our usual giveaways come the fall with the fall sports because Gators and Meldon Law are partners. In fact, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. So once again, without further ado, let's get into our interview. We've got, Kaitlyn Hof-Mahoney, right?
That's right.
All right. So, Kaitlyn, first of all, I'm really happy that you're here today. Kaitlyn is the executive director of the Matheson History Museum, which is located right here in Gainesville, Florida. Kaitlyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
So, Kaitlyn, tell me, first of all, what is the Matheson Museum?
Yeah, so the Matheson History Museum, we are located right on University Avenue, just a couple of blocks east of downtown. And we are Gainesville and Alachua County's local history museum. We focus on, your history here in Gainesville. So we have 4 historic buildings that are part of our complex. We have our museum building where we do our exhibits and programs. We have the historic Matheson house, which is the 3rd oldest house in Gainesville. We have the Tyson Tool Barn, which has a really cool collection of historic tools. And then finally, we have our newest historic building, which you may remember as the Melting Pot Restaurant.
Yes.
And that is now our library and archives building.
Did they keep the glass bottles from the ceiling?
We don't have the bottles in the ceiling, but we do have the stained glass that was in the front windows of that building.
Very cool.
If you come inside the library and archives, we now have that in a frame kind of up above some of the bookshelves.
Yes.
I like to refer to it as the altar of cheese.
Nice, but you can't fondue while you're studying history.
Not anymore,
Okay.
unfortunately. We try to keep the cheese and the books separate.
Probably a good idea, although cheese is always good while you're reading books.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about yourself. First of all, what brought you to Gainesville?
Like many people, I came to Gainesville for school.
Uh-huh.
So I came here about 6 years ago for graduate school, and I actually started working with the Matheson as a volunteer while I was in school. And then they hired me when I graduated, so I didn't leave. And now here I still am, and now I'm the director of the museum.
That's fantastic. What were you studying? What was your master's program?
So it is the Museum Studies Master's Program, which is a pretty small program at UF. My class was only about 5 people, but it's a really excellent program.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the UF has got some incredible access to museums.
Yeah, there's so many wonderful museums here in our community, and there's really great opportunities for students to work with them.
And so you were able to develop an early relationship with the Matheson Museum. Who was the executive director? Do you remember when you first started?
So the executive director when I first started volunteering was Dr. Peggy McDonald. She was our director for about 4 years, from 2015 to 2019, and she really did a lot of wonderful work to help expand our programming and exhibits, and of course she hired me, so that's the best part of what she did.
Yes. Well, you know, one of the things about Gainesville is it does have a varied history, and people. I've read a few things. I don't know if you know, an attorney named Dan Wiseman here in town, but he's a history buff, so he keeps me updated on some different things that he has learned about our history. But Gainesville has obviously roots that go back quite a bit, and so tell me a little bit about what the Matheson History Museum is. Is it focused on modern history, on maybe Native American history, on just Gainesville citizen history?
Yeah, so with our mission, it's to preserve and interpret the history of Gainesville and Alachua County. So that gives us really kind of a wide range of things that we can look at. So some of the exhibits that we've done in the past several years, we did a sports history exhibit that was really popular. We've done a exhibit on Tom Petty. We have done, some more serious exhibits as well. We did one a few years ago focusing on the desegregation of the Alachua County public schools in the 70s. We have our 2 exhibits that are on display right now. We have Trailblazers, 150 Years of Alachua County Women.
Oh, wow.
This is on 11 really cool women from Alachua County's history. And that one was a tough exhibit to put together because there were so many excellent people to choose from.
Yeah.
So trying to narrow it down to 11 was really tough.
Are there any living individuals still in?
So we have Mrs. Vivian Filer, who is really, just a pillar of our community. But one of her main areas of focus is the Cotton Club Museum and Cultural Center.
Gotcha.
So she is our one living trailblazer in the exhibit.
That's great.
So that show will be on display for about another month. It's going to be closing in August, so I encourage people to come and check it out.
So speaking of the displays, you were telling everybody out there that the museum is located on East University, not too far from downtown. When is it open? How do people, do they have to make appointments, or could they just show up?
So right now we are open to the public Wednesday through Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. And we also offer tours of the Matheson House, the Tool Barn, and also research appointments at our library and archives. Those are by appointment. So you can call the museum or you can send an email. All of that information is on our website, which is mathesonmuseum.org.
So Wednesday through Saturday, is that right?
Wednesday through Saturday.
1 through 4. So when you go in, you can actually right now see the Trailblazers, the last 150 years of the 9 female trailblazers that Gainesville has, been, I guess, the birthplace and the hometown of, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So we also have on display in our other gallery space, it's called We're Tired of Asking, and it's a show about Black Thursday, which was a civil rights event that happened at UF in 1971,
Okay.
where the black students had gone to President O'Connell asking for more representation on campus. And what started as a peaceful protest turned into more of a challenging confrontation between the students and the police. And there were actually quite a few students who left the university because of this.
Wow. It's crazy that you just don't hear about it and nobody really reads the local news anymore. So even museums are even more important now than ever in preserving, historical events that shaped our campus. Did it change things at University of Florida?
Yeah, so one of the most long-lasting effects from that is the establishment of the Black Student Union and the on-campus Black Student Resource Area, which the name is escaping me right now,
but it still exists to this day.
It still exists today.
Wow.
They are the buildings that are right across the street from campus that are resources for Black students, and also there is one for Hispanic students as well.
And one of the things that I know you're always doing as executive director is dealing with major projects. So we've got a few minutes before we go to our first break. What are some of the current major projects that you're focused on at this moment?
Yeah. So one of the things that's really exciting that we're doing right now is strategic planning, which sounds horrible.
It
but
doesn't
it's
sound
not.
very exciting. Yes.
So with the strategic planning, we are, working to kind of set our goals and figure out what it is that we want to do over the next several years. So that is something.
That is kind of exciting, though. So you get to shape the future of the Matheson History Museum. Are you allowed to reveal any thoughts today, or is it just something that's all just being processed still?
We are still, really kind of in the early stages of that, but we are definitely wanting input from our community to hear about, what people want from their local history museum. So that's something that we're going to be working on over the summer and into the fall is, recruiting people to kind of participate in this process with us. So that we can really come together with a plan that is, not just what Kaitlyn wants to do for the museum, but
right.
what actually, the community wants out of their museum.
Well, I have been to that museum. I was there with the Tom Petty exhibition, and it was a great show up. I think people were piled out through the front door because so many people showed up. And I remember the building was gorgeous. I mean, it's a really cool little museum. It's a very well kept, and it's it feels very intimate when you're in there, and you can probably spend quite a long time going through the exhibits. I remember the one I haven't gone to the most recent ones, but the ones that I did go to, I felt like was very professionally done.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. But
it's nice to hear that about the building, because for historic buildings, they just constantly want to fall down around me. So that is one of the biggest challenges, is keeping up with the maintenance of the building.
Well, speaking of that, can local Gainesville residents donate? Is there a fundraising events that ever put on with the Matheson Museum?
So we are, always open for donations. We're an independent nonprofit.
Okay.
A lot of people think that we're part of the city or the county, and we're not. We are an independent museum. So to keep our doors open, we rely on our members and donors. We also have grants that our staff write, and that is really where our funding comes from. So we do have several larger fundraising events throughout the year. We participate in the Amazing Give, which is in April. We'll have a campaign out for Giving Tuesday in November. And then, just throughout the year, people are welcome to, visit our website, become a member, donate. Every little bit helps, and we really appreciate the support of the community.
Is there any other history museums in Gainesville?
Yeah, so there are a few other history museums in Gainesville. We are kind of the one that focuses on kind of general history.
Right.
But you also have the A. Quinn Jones Museum and Cultural Center, which focuses specifically on A. Quinn Jones, who is a Black educator here in Gainesville.
And there's a school named after A. Quinn Jones, obviously. Yes.
You have the Cotton Club Museum and Cultural Center. You also have the Natural History Museum.
Right.
You know, there's just really such a great group of museums here in Gainesville. And it is actually Museum Month in Gainesville for July. So all of the Gainesville museums, we are running a raffle prize drawing program this month.
I love
where
that.
if you visit any of the museums that are participating, we have a little QR code that you can scan to enter the giveaway. And then we're doing one drawing per month. No, one drawing per week. So there will be 4 opportunities to win a prize. There are now 3 opportunities left, so I really encourage you to visit the Gainesville museums.
And you can only get the QR code if you go to the museums.
Correct.
You can't do it online, so you got to step foot
Exactly.
and get the code.
And you can fill out the form for every museum that you visit, so the more that you go to, the more chances you have to win.
I love that. So I love that you guys all work together, and I love that the Matheson Museum is so general because you get to cover such a great broad array of Gainesville history. You know?
And there's so much interesting stuff in Gainesville's history. You know, that is really my favorite part of the job. You know, I'm not from Gainesville. I've been here for 6.5 years. And
Where are you from originally,
I'm from
Kaitlyn?
South Florida originally.
Okay.
Palm Beach Gardens.
Oh, great. Well, we just had Jill. She's from Miami, so
that far
not
south.
that far south, but close. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's interesting. My grandfather attended UF in the 60s, so he's actually part of the museum.
No
Because
way.
One of the collections that we have are historic Alachua County yearbooks.
Uh-huh.
So we have yearbooks from UF, Gainesville High School, Buchholz High School.
Really?
And my grandfather is in some of the UF ones from the 60s.
So if you're a UF graduate or a high school graduate, can you go in there and request to see your yearbook?
So we do have, you know, some areas that aren't fully complete.
Right.
And we also have some of the more recent ones. Those have not shown up at the museum yet.
Uh-huh.
But we do have probably at least 200 yearbooks from Alachua County.
That might be the largest collection of local yearbooks. I would assume so.
I'd say there's certainly a chance, but it's really interesting. That's one of my favorite parts of the collection, and I love going through the yearbooks.
I do too. It's like it really does tell the history of the time that you're in. Well, very cool. Well, we're going to our first break. We'll come back for the last segment, and we're going to finish up with some cool tie-ins to Meldon Law and the new exhibits that may be coming out shortly. So we'll be back in about a minute.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down. We still hear it. The sound of victory. The joy of being part of something great. And while things may not be the same right now, we haven't gone anywhere. If you bleed orange and blue, then Meldon Law is the firm for you.
This is Kerry Meldon. We're back here live. We're here with Kaitlyn Hof-Mahoney, who is the executive director at the Matheson History Museum, located right here in Gainesville, Florida. And as I said before, people keep filing into Spurrier's. I see a young lady with a martini directly behind the camera. So it's always puts you in good spirits when people are having fun. But we're in our last segment for today's show. It's been a great show. Kaitlyn was talking about her experience, how she got to become the executive director at the Matheson History Museum. What is the Matheson History Museum and some of the cool programs? Just to kind of go back in case someone missed the first segment, let's talk a little bit about the Museum and Cultural Center Month that is currently happening in July.
Yeah, so July is officially Museum and Cultural Center Month here in Gainesville. There will be a proclamation read at a city commission meeting sometime this month.
Mm-hmm.
And we are working with the other museums here in Gainesville. We have the Cade Museum, the Florida Museum of Natural History, the Harn, the A. Quinn Jones Museum and Cultural Center, the Cotton Club Museum and Cultural Center, and the Planetarium at Santa Fe College, as well as the Matheson History Museum. So if you visit any of those museums this month, there is a QR code that you can scan to enter into a giveaway to win some really cool prizes from the museums. We've got tote bags, we've got water bottles, pens, hats, all sorts of cool museum swag. If you can stick a logo on it, I'm sure one of us have.
So you got an opportunity to win some free stuff and support the local arts, which in Gainesville we always do a good job, but we can always do a better job. And speaking of, what are some of the donation opportunities? How do people, if they want to donate to the Matheson Museum, how would they go about doing so?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we're an independent nonprofit, so we really do rely on our members and donors to help us, continue doing the work that we do and keep the doors open. For those of you who live in the area, I'm sure you've noticed your GRU bills are going up. So are mine. I've got 4 buildings. But if you want to donate and help support the work that we do, you can go to our website, mathesonmuseum.org, and you can donate with your credit card. We have a sustainer membership where you can set up a monthly donation.
Oh, I love that.
Us, that kind of reliable income stream. You can also make a one-time donation. You can become a member of the museum. There's really all sorts of different options. You can also come visit me at the museum, and we can get that set up for you.
Absolutely. And if you have any cool Gainesville history that you want to share, there's no one better in town to talk to than Catherine, because you're going to have maybe some information that you can share back with that individual. In terms of your, I'm sorry, Kaitlyn. I called you Kat. I was like thinking it was Kaitlyn, but the the information that you have at your disposal is really, really incredible, because there's probably stories that you share with people all the time when they come into your museum, and they're saying, well, my father did this, or my mother did this, or my great-great-grandfather was part of this collective, or whatever it is. And I'm sure you have the insight almost all of Gainesville's history.
Yeah, so those are, some of the resources that we have available for people who want to do research. We have a pretty extensive map collection that can be useful if you're doing research about your house. We also have a collection of city directories that go back to, I think the earliest one we have is 1906.
Okay.
And then it jumps, there's a couple from the 1920s.
Wow.
And then we have a pretty complete collection of city directories from the 1940s up through, I think the latest one we have is 1997. So you can track, you can look up an address, you can look up a name, and you can kind of see, who was living in your house. Look up, say, your grandfather. What was he doing in the 1950s?
Right.
There's all sorts of cool things that you can find in the collection. And that's, really a great part of the job, is helping people figure out things that are interesting to them that I never would have looked into on my own.
Absolutely. It's very cool. And so if anybody wants to become a member, you can either go in person Wednesday through Saturday, 1 through 4, or go online if you want to schedule an appointment to check out some of the other buildings that are associated with the Matheson Museum. Then you can book appointments online, correct?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, you can get our contact information, and you can either call me or send me an email, and we can get that set up.
So email or phone call. So very, very cool. I want to talk a little bit before we end the session, because we talked about it before the break, that us at Meldon Law have some history that we're going to be able to share with the Matheson Museum. We feel honored to have that opportunity. And I'll let kind of Kaitlyn talk a little bit about what it is in more detail, but I can start with that my father moved to Gainesville in 1971. His father, my grandfather, owned a jazz club in Cleveland called the Loop Lounge, which was the largest jazz club between Chicago and New York. And so my father grew up with a ton of musicians that were staying at his house when segregation was still in full effect, even in the North. So he would stay with Count Basie, Ella Fitzgerald, Duke Ellington. All these incredible musicians would stay with my father when he was a young kid. And so he got a taste of the music industry. And he moves to Gainesville as a young lawyer and opens a law firm. But on the side, he ends up with his partner opening the Great Southern Music Hall. So Kaitlyn, you're doing an exhibit. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, we are. So I'm really excited about this. You know, it's a really interesting topic, you know, looking at kind of how Gainesville, you know, this little tiny southern town, has just such a rich music history. And this is just kind of one part of that music history. But we're really looking forward to, you know, working with your father and also John Moran.
John Moran, yeah.
Who, I'm sure most people know, but John Moran is a wonderful local photographer. And this was his first paid photography job, was photographing the artists at the Great Southern Music Hall.
And do you know that these photos, so these, some of the, I can kind of release some of the musicians that may be photographed yet?
Yes.
So we've got Jimmy Buffett, you've got Blood, Sweat, and Tears, you have Minnie Riperton, you have B.B. King, I think you've got Jerry Lee Lewis. There's all these people were playing in Gainesville live between in the mid 70s to the late 70s, and John Moran had these first edition photographs that had never been released into print until, I don't know how him and my father got together, but they figured it out that he said, Jeffrey, I have all these photos that I've never actually produced, I've never sold, no one's ever seen them, and it's these live acts that are actually performing in Gainesville, and they were photographed by John Moran during his first shoot. So it's a great tie-in between a really well-known local photographer and these amazing acts that came to Gainesville. And kind of back then it was the heyday of music between Tom Petty and for those listeners who do not know, they probably do know, but if they don't know, my father Jeffrey was Tom Petty's first attorney, along with Mike Campbell and the rest of the Heartbreakers, Stan Lynch, and Ben Mott-Tench, whose father was a judge. But there was also Bernie Ledden, who was with the Eagles, Stephen Stills with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So back then, in the late 60s to 70s, Gainesville became this incredible mecca of rock and roll history. And I don't know, I think there's like 6 or 7. 6 or 7 members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame were from Gainesville. Something insane.
Really an outsized number based on the size of the town.
And in fact, at the Matheson Museum, they had a great exhibit where they had the author who was a member of the band The Motels, and I can't remember the author, but he wrote that book, and he came and he spoke a little bit about the Gainesville. He had written a book on Gainesville music history.
Yeah, we had a few really great programs around that exhibit. I'm not recalling the name.
Do you know? You remember that? But he's from California, so he came and gave a little bit of a 10-minute lecture. But it was about rock and roll in Gainesville. And if you call our office, my dad bought like 20 copies of the book, so he'll give you one if you really want one. But the fact is he was saying how many members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then you had all these other incredible artists that came in, and we've got all these photographs. So when is this exhibition going to actually hit the ground running?
Yeah, so we are looking to open this exhibit in September. I believe we're opening it September 14th, and then we are going to have some additional programming throughout the fall about it. I still need to track your dad down and get him to give me a date about when he wants to come and talk about it.
Well, he'll talk. Jeffrey loves to talk, so yes.
So I want to get him, at the museum in front of a microphone to talk about it. So I just need to get a date for that.
We'll get a date. We'll promise we'll get a date for that. We'll let the listeners know we're going to invite a huge crowd, so you be ready because it's going to be packed. But these photos that John Moran has taken, I've seen them, most of them, and they're absolutely gorgeous. It's worth coming just to see the artistic, the start of John Moran's career, and he's been able to enhance them. They look incredible. I mean, they're really, really good.
So that's going to be, kind of one of the centerpieces of the exhibit, and then there will be a lot more surrounding it, so you'll have to stop by and check it out once it opens.
Well, Kaitlyn, we're going to have you on the show again when it does open, and so you can speak with Jeffrey, and you guys can talk about it. But thank you very much, Kaitlyn Hof-Mahoney, the Executive Director of the Matheson History Museum. It's been a great show. We look forward to having you on again, and thank you for showing up today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. And like everybody else out there, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.